So I saw this bowl projection today from The Athletic.
Yeah, you did.
So this will lead into another conversation entirely.
Okay.
But I do want to give you the stats here, or what they're telling us. College football preseason bowl projections, playoff picks, and bowl matchups, as given to you by The Athletic. They do not have Nebraska in the playoff, but they do have
cowards.
They do have Nebraska going to the Citrus Bowl,
a very fine bowl.
A very fine bowl. Last year, that bowl game was Iowa and Tennessee. Iowa went into that game with 10 wins last year. Tennessee went into it with 8. Tennessee won 35-0 for the record, because Iowa did not score points very, very predictably. That would be the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, not the Cheez-It Bowl, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
That's right. There's a difference.
I don't know what the coach gets dumped on him when you win the Citrus Bowl. Is it citrus or is it Cheez-It? I have no idea.
Good question.
I didn't watch close enough last year to make that determination. Should have asked Alan. That game's in Orlando, so it's a warm weather location, and it is New Year's Eve. We could celebrate our New Year's Eve in Orlando.
Oh.
We can go to Disney World, Josh. That could be fun.
Oh, that's a morning game, isn't it?
I believe that would be like at 11 o'clock.
So we couldn't do like a New Year's Eve celebration on Big Red Overreaction.
Unless you wanted Big Red Overreaction to last like 12 hours.
I don't.
Okay. I don't either. So Tennessee won that game last year. That'd be a nice result, by the way. That'd be a nice result.
A lot of people very happy.
But guess who, of course, they are playing, according to this?
It's inevitable.
Texas A&M. So they predict Nebraska to be in their regional for baseball. They match up in basketball. They match up in women's basketball. And here they are again, showing up at a bowl projection together. On its face, not a bad thing. But then it got me thinking about Trev again. I was to rehash this a little bit. So, have you noticed over the last couple weeks some just little tiny Rule Barbs shots, in which my opinion are directed in the direction of Trev Alberts?
Whoa.
I think at this point, it is clear that they had their differences. Not that they were at odds about anything, but I think Rule seems to prefer the style of athletic directing that Mr. Yogurt is bringing to the table. That's just my observation. For example,
okay.
I don't think they saw eye to eye on things like alternate jerseys. Remember when Rule announced that last week on the radio show? He goes, yeah, it was just a philosophical thing. And who do we know? And Dave brought this up last week. Who do we know that has very strong opinions on Nebraska wearing alternate uniforms?
The all-sport man himself.
Indeed.
Trevor Alberts.
You know who was super duper against neutral site games?
Trevor Alberts?
Indeed. I think he was a bit scarred from the whole Ireland situation. He was, like myself, by the way. I'd be super against it for the record.
Hold on, just real quick. We don't talk enough about how that was an absolute disaster on and off the field.
Correct. One of the worst things that's ever happened.
Yes.
Just a disaster on all fronts. Matt Rule this week says, I was one of the people that was spearheading the charge to play Cincinnati at the Big Oil Drum next year. Done.
That's right.
I don't think they saw eye to eye on that. I don't think they saw eye to eye on the stadium project. I think there was, there was things that Trev wanted to do to make the stadium an athletic department, like holistic venue that made money for it. Obviously, it was a long thing, a long drawn out process.
Don't touch my football stadium.
I think Rule thought this is a football field. Can we have grass? And the answer immediately when Mr. Yogurt took over was yes, of course.
Wow.
Grass. It's your football stadium. And then I saw...
You're making me realize some things
and then I saw a tweet last night from Trev Alberts. And I see many tweets.
TV star?
He does many tweets, Trev. And he did his first ticket poll last night. What's a ticket poll? I would assume it's some sort of student lottery for football tickets to Texas A&M football games. And I tweeted out some pictures last night.
Wow, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah, a lot of people want. It's a gigantic student section. I think the biggest in the country.
Not a cult.
Definitely not a cult. Not at all. They do weird things down there. Trev's all about it. In these 4 pictures that he put out, 3 of them are of him. One of him staring off of his high balcony.
That's my favorite.
Me too. One of him very happily handing out treats to students, and then one of him posing for a picture with the student leadership group. Remember when Matt Rule was talking about the main character syndrome this week? He said he was talking about his team, and he said, we don't have anybody, we don't have any main character syndrome on this team. I think he said that on Saturday. We don't have main character syndrome. We don't have guys who, and then he gave this example of how 3 guys were wearing number 18, Nair, Prince Will, and Bushini, and each of them said like, "Hey, I'd love to give the number up. Whatever needs to be done to do this, I'll do it. I have no problem with it." And it was it was Bushini at the end of the day who ended up changing numbers, and that number he gained last year because he wanted to honor Brooke Behringer, but he gave it up just so this could all work. And Nair and Prince Will can all have the number 18. That's what he's talking about with main character syndrome. He says his team doesn't have any of it. Maybe retrospectively, Matt Rule's looking at Trev Alberts and thinking, yeah, there is maybe a little main character syndrome here. I think Trev had a very, very specific and rigid idea of how he wanted to see the athletic department run. And that, I don't think it rubbed I shouldn't say it rubbed anybody the wrong way, because it definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. But I think Rule prefers it this way, And you're saying, oh well, Happer, like in this way, like Rule gets more say, he gets more power. Like, yeah, yes.
Matt Rule won a power struggle against Trev Alberts, the former Husker and athletic director.
That is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that Rule in this setup is being more trusted with the brand and the giant scope of like the university than he was. But like the face of the athletic department when Trev Alberts was here was probably going to be Trev Alberts, because it was his vision. No alternate jerseys. Our jerseys all look the same. Here's how the stadium's going to be. This is how you do it. He has a very specific vision on how he needs to run an athletic department. And as you saw, if he doesn't get that, if he's not allowed to see that vision through, out the door. I don't think this is a bad thing, for the record. I don't think this is a bad thing. I just think there are 2 really, really strong personalities there. And, maybe that doesn't always like work in perfect symphony. All we'd ever heard before, like he never, also Rule never really seemed that beat up that Trev left. I was always amazed by that.
Yeah.
Given that he was such an important figure of bringing him here. Yeah. And it's such an important reason why he was here. And he trusted that vision so much. I was always amazed that he never really seemed that beat up that Trev left. Rule never did. Yeah, I wish his family the best, and we'll move on. That's kind of the way he has to be, I guess.
And at the time you look at it and you're like, oh, total football guy. Like, okay, who's here, who's not? I can only deal with who's here, Yeah. And now in hindsight, might be something there. Comments rolling in.
Yes.
Star Wars Fiend.
Yes.
Wow, this may be one of Connor's best takes ever. Seriously, this is spot on. Literally did not even think of this at all.
Okay, well, I hope you...
Connor.
I hope I'm not convincing you of something that doesn't exist.
Connor, keep it up. In a few years, you may be 500 on takes.
500 on takes. What's that mean?
But you like a batting average?
Oh, like hitting 500,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Bobby Witt Jr. almost is.
Yeah,
got it.
Charles, target emoji, target emoji, target emoji, target emoji. Travis, Rule saying he likes neutral site games was the first red flag I've seen from him. I don't like that.
I actually don't like that either, for the record. But he was gung ho. He was like, he said that thing. He was like, I wanted to bring Baylor to Mexico.
Yeah.
And he said he was asked about Ireland in particular. He was like, hey, I know they just went a couple of years ago. But like, would you be open to it? And he'd be like, I don't know if they're going to come back to us at any point in time soon for a variety of different reasons. But yes, like hardcore, yes, I'm in on that.
I'm okay with neutral site games. Ireland is different.
You know, he also said, and I don't know if we'd ever heard this story before. He goes, you know, when he visited Nebraska for that Illinois game in 22, when that really, really nice day, they wanted to, after the visit, him and his wife really wanted to just get away. And so they took a vacation for a few months.
Okay, I'm glad you're telling this because I had never heard
I don't think I'd heard this before.
Yeah.
So they wanted to just get away and think about it for a little while. And where did they decide to go? Ireland. And so they get off the plane, and what is there greeting Matt Rule but a gigantic 200-foot Nebraska helmet?
He called it a sign from God.
The remnants of the 2022 Ireland game, Aer Lingus Classic. And he's like, well, I guess this is over. I'm going to Nebraska. God told me to.